So today is the 21st, 9/21/18. So we're going to do a couple of the different level of factoring. So first of all, let's do B on this because I think 1's pretty easy. We know how to do A, but let's look at B. So B's unique because it's going to take 2 steps. Okay, so it's going to take 2 steps. First, they all have an x in common, right? So I'll take out the x. After I take out the x, I'll have the x squared minus a 1x minus 2. But what makes this an Algebra 2 level is the fact that now you can factor it again. Okay, you can factor it again. The x has already been factored out, so I'll leave the x out. But what's inside is a trinomial. So to make an x squared, I'm going to go parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. So this is really the opposite of FOIL, right? To get an x squared, I'll have an x and an x. Multiples of -2 are -2 and 1. So I'm going to go -2 and positive 1, okay? Not too bad there, okay? Let's look at D, okay? 4 terms, grouping. 4 terms, we're going to do it by grouping. 4 terms we group. So let's pair them up. Let's pair them up. So when I see 4 terms, I'm going to pair them up. I'm going to do it by grouping. I don't know if you saw this in Algebra 1 or not. So the first 2 have a x squared in common. We're just going to do the first 2. We pair them up, we group them up, okay? So the first 2 have an x squared in common. What would be left over out of the first 2 would be an x minus 3, okay? Second 2 really don't have anything in common, but if I want to make it try to make it look like this, I'm going to factor out a negative. So if I pull out its negative, the negative x becomes a positive x. If I take the negative out of the 3, it becomes a -3. It's a little bit harder, isn't it? Okay.
So wouldn't that just end up being x squared?
Well, let me put a 1 right here. Put 1 right here. So now we're going to factor twice, okay? We look at the 2 groups, and we ask ourselves, what do the 2 groups have in common? Well, they've got a parentheses x minus 3 in common. So what do the 2 groups have in common? X minus 3. So if I common factor out the x minus 3, what's left over is an x squared minus 1. But this is Algebra 2. We can factor that again. See how this becomes a lot more difficult? We can factor that one again because this one, x squared minus 1, turns into be an x plus 1 and an x minus 1, okay? These are a little bit harder, aren't they? Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to do...
And then you can pull an x out of this.
No. Okay, let's do E because E's... No, I don't want to do E. Never mind. Yeah, I can do E. Let's do E. Let's do E. And then we'll do F, okay? So in E, before I do anything, I notice that all 4 terms have an x in common. See that? All 4 terms have an x in common. So before I do anything, let's just take out that x, okay? These are harder. This is Algebra 2 factoring, right? So if I take out the x, I'll have an x cubed plus a 2x squared minus a 1x minus 2, okay? 4 terms, group them. 4 terms, group them, okay? 4 terms, pair them up, okay? That's what I mean by grouping, okay? So the x has already been factored out. This x has already been factored out, so we're going to leave it factored out. So I'll leave my x there, okay? Now, if I look at the first 2, what do they have in common? They have a x in common, right? If I take out the x, actually x squared, don't they? Actually have an x squared in common. These 2 have an x squared in common, so if I take out an x squared, I have an x plus 2. These 2 really don't have anything in common except for the negative. They have a negative in common, so if I take out the negative, take out, I say, a -1, I'd have a x plus 2. Okay, now, the x is already still out, right? Leave it there. What do these 2 inside have in common? They've got an x plus 2. They've got a parentheses x plus 2. So I'll leave this x here to start with. I'm going to use a bracket now because I got too many parentheses. I'm just going to use a bracket, too many parentheses, right? So then if I pull out the parentheses x plus 2, if I pull it out, I like to cross it out, see what's left over. I pull it out. See, I like to cross it out because I say, okay, it's been pulled out. What's left over is x squared minus 1. Okay, now normally I'd say we're done, except this is algebra 2, isn't it? This one could be done again. This is going to be x plus 1, x minus 1, right? So the grand answer of this is an x plus 2, and then I'm going to go an x plus 1, x minus 1 from the x squared minus 1, okay? So we have, so far, we have common factoring, okay? What do they have in common? We have grouping. Grouping is where you pair them up. 4 terms, pair them up, okay? 4 terms, pair them up. Now, turn the page to page 77, and we're going to have perfect cubes. And this is something brand new. Now, perfect cubes is not difficult. We just need a formula. And I always mess up the formula. I always forget it, so I'm just going to put it on the board later. But here's our formula for perfect cubes, okay? If we have a cube plus a cube, okay? It's going to be a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Well, what does that mean? Okay, they give you an example. I'm going to give you an example too that's a little bit easier than theirs, okay? So let me give you an example up here, okay? I'll give you an easier example. Let's start with x cubed plus 8, okay? Let's start with an example. I'll show you how this works, okay? So when you first look at this problem, they don't have anything in common. It's not any kind of factoring, but it really is a perfect cube plus another perfect cube, okay? Because I know that 2 cubed is 8, okay? So it's x cubed plus 2 cubed. I just rewrote the question into a cube plus a cube, okay? Now to use my a and b, what we're going to do is let our a be the x and our b be the 2. Okay, so what I have is x cubed plus 2 cubed, or I've got an a cubed plus b cubed, right? And so instead of writing a's and b's, we're not going to write a's and b's, we're going to write x's and 2's, because we're going to let our a be x and our b be 2, right? So instead of writing a's and b's here, we're just going to write x's and 2's. Okay, so let's do it. So our formula says, take, if I've got a cubed plus b cubed, which in this case I've got x cubed plus 2 cubed, we're going to rewrite that as a plus b. Well, not a, but x, right? Plus, not b, but b is 2, okay? Parentheses. A squared, but that would be like x squared, minus ab. Let's see, that's like ab, that'd be minus a 2x, plus a b squared, which would be a b is 2, or a 2 squared, which is a 4. And that is it. I'm going to do another one, okay? Now let's look at their example.
So we don't have to find an answer?
No, that's as far, and you cannot factor what's inside here. You can't. If you could, it would have given you different forms. Does that make sense, Price? But if you multiply it out, you believe it or not, you get back to what it was, okay? Okay, so let's try their example. So if you take a look at their example, they've got a 64 x cubed plus a 1, okay? So again, we're looking for perfect cubes, like, you know, something times something times something. Well, they help us out a little bit. We do know that we could rewrite this. You ready? 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64, okay? So the same thing as a 4x cubed plus a 1 cubed, because really 1 times 1 times 1. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to use our formula. We're going to let a be 4x, because that's my a cubed. We'll let b equal our 1. We'll just plug it into our formula, okay? So here it is. Our formula is going to be a plus b. So we're going to, okay, our answer is going to be parentheses a plus b. Well, that'd be a 4x plus 1 times a squared. Well, I'm going to square that, okay? I'm going to square that, which is going to be a 16x squared minus a times b. So that times that makes a minus a 4x plus b squared. Well, plus, that's b. 1 squared is plus 1, okay? These are a little bit harder, aren't they? Okay. Now, we can do the exact same thing, except for if it's a perfect cube minus. The only difference is the minus. So the formula slightly changes. See how the formulas are like a plus. See how it's slightly different? So if you got a minus sign here, it's almost the exact same formula, but the signs are different, right? So we're going to use this formula, okay? So they give us an example. Let's do their example. So here's our example, and I'm going to do it. So they've got a 27x cubed minus 8, okay? Believe it or not, that is a perfect cube. It is a perfect cube minus another perfect cube. So what I would do is I'd write this, okay, ready? 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27, right? So that's the same thing as a 3x cubed minus, you ready? 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, right? Minus a 2 cubed. So, thank you. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let A be my 3x and my B equal my 2. All right? And I'll just use the formula that's got the minus in it. Okay, so I'm going to use this formula. I will put this on the board later because we shouldn't have to memorize this, okay? So let's put it in the formula. So the formula says, okay, the formula says, all right, parentheses, the answer is going to be parentheses, A minus B, right? So that's 3x minus 2, okay? Parentheses, A squared. Well, so we're going to square that. We're going to square that. It's going to be a 9x squared. And then we're going to go plus AB. So that times that. That times that would be a plus a 6x. And then plus B squared. So B is 2. I'm going to square 2 and I get a plus 4. Okay? These are hard, aren't they? And these are new. So we just need to practice these, okay? Ready? Want to turn the page? Wait for you to turn the page. Catch up. And I will put these formulas on the board for you, okay? These are hard, all right? Okay? All right, now, extra practice. Number 1. Oh my goodness, that looks terrible, but we can do it. It looks like a hard problem, but we can do it. So when I take a look at number 1, what do you see first? Do you see anything that can be done? Do you guys see anything that can be done? There you go. Common factor out of 20x. Okay, let's do that. Because if I common factor, it's going to make the problem smaller. Does that make sense? Take out the 20x, it's going to make the problem smaller. So then I go parentheses. Okay, if I take out a 20x, I'd have an x squared. Take out a 20, I think it's 11, isn't it? What's 220? 20 divided by 20, it's got to be 11, right?
Negative 11x.
Negative 11x, thanks, Price. And then what's that? It could be 30 plus 30, okay? All right. Boy, you're busy. Must be college recruiters, huh? It will be. It will be. It's just a matter of when. So now, can this be done again? Sure, you guys did cahoots on this one. This is actually a pretty easy one. What do you think this is? What times what makes 30 that adds up to 11?
Negative 6, negative 5.
There you go. You guys agree with Price? So our answer is going to be the 20x. And we're going to, okay, x minus 6, x minus 5. Or like Victor said, the order doesn't matter, right, Victor? Either way, okay, negative 5, positive 6. Okay, that looked terrible, didn't it? But we were able to do it. Okay, these are hard, but I don't mind. We're going to keep practicing. Okay, number 2. All right, again, it looks really hard, but then maybe there's something we can do to make it easier. Okay, do you see anything?
M.
Take out an m. Victor's right. So if I take out an m, I'll have a m to the 6th minus 81, okay? Oh, 4th. Really? Seriously, Bill? Seriously? Okay, now, what do you think?
Negative 9 plus 9.
All right. How about an m squared plus 9, m squared minus 9? Nice job, Price. You guys agree with that? Okay. Now, believe it or not, one of those two could be done again. That one there. Not that one. This one here is just like this, except for it's with the m and the 9, okay? So we can do this one again. Yeah, we're going to go make this one an m plus 3, m minus 3. M squared plus 9 will not factor. It has to be a minus in between to make it be the opposite. So, grand answer, m times m squared plus 9 times my n plus 3, n minus 3, okay? These are hard, aren't they? So I'm going to help you out as much as I can, okay? Practice, practice, practice. The hardest thing about factoring is this. It takes practice. I'll say it again. The hardest thing about factoring is it takes practice. I'm going to say it one more time. One more time. The hardest thing about factoring is it takes practice. It really does. There's no shortcut to factoring. It just takes practice. Yeah, TJ? You got to wait. Okay, hold on. Okay, now, number 3. Okay, what do you think about, did anybody see anything about number 3? It's a cube. They're cubes, just like we just learned the cubes. It's a perfect cube. So it's going to be 3a cubed plus a 2b cubed, all right? I better put the formula up on the board real quick because, you know what? If I can't see it, I always forget. Okay, hold on for a second. Let me just go ahead and we'll put these up on the board really fast. So, what do I got? I got my a cubed plus b cubed is a plus b, a squared minus ab plus b squared, right? And then my other one is my a cubed minus b cubed is a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared, right? Okay, so I've got on the board. Let's flip back. And you ready? Number 3 is this one, right? You guys agree? Number 3 is this one, right? So I know that my A is really a 3A and my B is really a 2B, okay? So the formula, we're going to go, first of all, this squared, because the formula says, nope, I said it wrong. We're going to go A plus B. So we're going to go my 3A plus 2B times, my formula says A squared. So I'm going to take this squared, which makes a 9A squared. Then I'm going to go minus, this times this, which is going to be a 6AB. And then plus B squared, which is this squared, which is a 4B squared. Okay, these are getting hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do 2 more, and then I'll have you work on your computers, and that way I can go around and help you out, okay? All right, let's try it. Number 5, okay? What do you think? Anybody have any ideas besides me?
6 and 8.
Yes. Let's go y squared. Because the y squared is going to make the y 4, okay? What are the multiples of 48?
6 and 8.
That will make a 13.
12 and 4.
12 and 4?
No.
Nope. 16 and 3? I think 16 times 3 makes 48. So how about a negative 16 and a positive 3? Okay, because that's going to make a negative 13. You guys see the negative 13?
Yeah.
Right? Now,
And then you can factor it into x plus y and x minus 4.
this one will factor again.
Y plus 4.
I knew what you meant, Tim. Tim's saying this will be a y plus 4, y minus 4. And this you cannot factor again. This you cannot factor.
Would it be 2 and 2?
If that were squares, yes.
Oh, squared.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's do a couple more and we'll be done, okay? Because I want you to practice these with your homework, okay? Because they're hard. They're hard, okay? 6, all right? I've got, what's the first thing you see? You see anything? 5. I heard it. You guys agree with 5? I heard 5. So let's take out the 5. Let's see what we got. Then I'd have a p cubed plus a, well, yeah, plus a p minus a p squared minus 1. Okay? 4 terms, right? 4 terms, what are you going to do? 4 terms. 4 terms, what do you do? Guys, remember? 4 terms, what do you do? Let's group them, okay? Now I'm going to ignore the 5, okay? You guys mind if I ignore the 5? 5's there, but I'm going to ignore the 5, okay? So write down the 5, and I'm going to ignore the 5, okay? So if I group them, let's put these 2 together. Let's put these 2 together, okay? So out of the first group, what do they have in common? P. So if I take out a P, I'd have a P squared plus 1, because there's a 1, invisible 1 right there, invisible 1, right? What do these two have in common? Just the negative, right? Just the negative. So if I take the negative out, I'd have a P squared plus 1. Now, what do the two groups have in common? Yeah, they've got a... So I'm going to be careful. My 5 is still there, right? So if I take out my P squared plus 1, right? If I take that out, what's left over? Well, there's an invisible 1 right here, right? So I'm going to have a P minus 1, and that is that, okay? Okay, 7, last but not least. Oh, 7 looks horrible. So I'm looking at 7 like I'm not sure. Seriously, I'm looking at 7, I don't know. So I'm going to take out a calculator. My guess is they have to have something in common, right? So let's see. 10 for sure, right? You guys agree?
Yep.
10 for sure. So if I take it at 10, I'd have an 81 k to the 4th minus 16. All right? Do you see anything else? Do you see another step? Anybody see another step? Okay. Ellen, what do you think? 9k squared. 9k squared. Plus 4 minus 4. Yeah, you guys agree? Plus 4 minus 4. Nice job. We're going to do one more thing. One more thing. Anybody see the one more thing we could do? Can you do something there? 3k plus, say it, 3k 2 and 3k minus 2. Okay, so the 10 is done. My 9k squared plus 4 is done. All right, so this is going to become a 3k plus 2, 3k minus 2, okay? These are hard. You won't have on your quiz ones quite this hard, except for like extra credit. That seems fair, doesn't it? I'll have some basic ones down, but you can practice these though. So when I went through and made the homework, I didn't put the super hard ones on there.